By the way, this is straight up the worst fucking article I've ever seen. Okay? Berlin, the Artemis Brothel that all the fucking Swerfs are up my asshole about. Apparently, I know that they had like sued Berlin to pay damages because they were like raided. They were raided for tax evasion, and then they claimed that they were also doing sex trafficking, which Swerfs on the internet literally use all the time to fucking yell at me about. To say like, oh, Hasan, a brothel that you went to was engaging in sex trafficking. Well, guess what? Like, it turns out they weren't, you know? You should have never named the brothel. Yeah, I know. It's like, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter. Those motherfuckers don't care. They don't care. That's the point. They've never cared. They literally use... And also, this fucking website is so stupid. Like, I don't know how credible this fucking website is. Okay? It's translated from this. Here, I'll just... Why didn't it translate automatically? Always translate German. Yeah, here. It's from Welt. Berlin has to pay 100,000 euros in damages to the big brothel Artemis. After a raid on the Artemis Brothel in spring 2016, the Berlin public prosecutor spoke of links to organized crime. 2 operators complained the country rejected a comparison and was now sentenced to 2 high compensation payments. Okay? Remember all of the fucking TikTok, all of the fucking TikTok fucking videos, all of the fucking Twitter articles. Do you think they will apologize to me? No, they won't. You want to know why they won't? Because they're fucking freaks. Because I went to a brothel that got raided years after I went to the fucking brothel. That's insane. They don't care. They never cared about trafficking to begin with, okay? You've also ridden in a Volkswagen as a passenger in an Uber, and Volkswagen famously illegally dodged climate sanctions. Will you finally apologize? Yeah, it's like that. It's like it's fucking so stupid. What, so is this a W for you? I mean, it literally doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't matter because, like, it was never my fault to begin with. You know what I mean? But it doesn't matter. Why do you even have to address this? You do this at least once a month. Obviously, people still say they don't actually care about sex work. Exactly. I had one time, originally, when I was talking about sex work, I talked about how I went to a brothel. Okay? A couple of years back. And then one of these dumb motherfuckers that's like a massive sex work exclusionary radical feminist went on the internet and was like, dude, this guy went to a brothel. And that brothel was like fucking raided for sex trafficking of children. Okay. Bullshit. Just fucking complete bullshit. Okay. I went to a brothel like 6, 7, 8 years before they even fucking raided the brothel. And it wasn't for sex trafficking. It was raided for tax evasion. The brothel is still in operation. Okay. Prostitution is legal in Germany. Prostitution is legal in Germany. Okay? Talking about my experience with legal prostitution in Germany, people used that against me and fucking went absolute bananas. Okay? Went completely fucking bananas. It's something that has been weaponized time and time and time again. I wonder if now that this article has come out, now that they literally had to, the Berlin state had to pay Artemis 100,000 euros in damages. I wonder if they will turn around and say, hey, maybe we were fucking wrong on this. They won't. And like, I don't even personally care about defending this brothel. You know what I mean? Like, it could have been fucking raided for sex trafficking. That's entirely not my fault. Like, I am not a participant in I'm not working at the brothel. But people do not care. They made that fucking connection regardless. They made it seem like I was the one who was like literally doing the sex trafficking. Which is so fucking stupid. Which is so frustrating. Okay? But because of the way that sex work is perceived, okay, because of the way that sex work is perceived by the broader public, because of the way that happens, it doesn't matter. People literally still were like, oh yeah, you did go to the brothel. I'm sure it was rated for sex trafficking. I don't even care if it's real or not. Fuck you. You're a piece of shit. Now we know. Okay? Now it is now come to a final conclusion, I guess. As a Berliner, I'll tell you, Artemis is like top tier and famous for rich criminals and rappers going, but like they claiming themselves and not their clientele as criminals, so fucking wild in German, Lamau. Yeah, I think it's because they do it like in a contracted way. That's probably the reason. Anyway. And then you have like this kind of fucking weirdo shit. There it is. The brothel is still in operation. They sued Berlin and they won their lawsuit for, I guess, defamation or whatever it is. Appeal on Tuesday, the appeal process awarded the two plaintiffs 50,000 euros each plus interest after lengthy negotiations in the appeals process. The competent civil chamber suggested a settlement to the state of Berlin. However, the Senate Justice Department did not respond to this. Every fucking week, dude. For the record, the reason why you guys are saying, like, why are you talking about this? Let's look. Hasan Piker pictured here going door to door informing his new neighbors that he once bought child prostitutes at the Artemis mega brothel in Berlin. 3,000 likes. Hasan Piker fans, where he goes to brothels rated for sex trafficking and his race towards black women is a shady as fuck comeback. This guy is literally a fucking Nazi, okay? Hasan, just be normal, says Hasan Piker, who wears women's clothing and pays for sex at brothels that get rated in connection to human trafficking in between streams. This is the type of thing that is like always been around, that these people don't give a fuck about, that they say all the time. Like, look, when I said, my thoughts are with the Clinton family in this trying time as their close and personal best friend pictured front and center at Chelsea Clinton's wedding is going to federal prison for sex trafficking minors. Hasan Piker, you quite literally admitted to going to brothels which were known for sex trafficking. You don't get to speak on this issue. Rot. And of course, the main cultivator of this is this fucking dickhead, Alex Rubinstein. Okay? So I figured out how Hasan Piker blows his millions. This is where it started. This fucking dickhead. I will be accepting my apology from Alex. Sex trafficking happens, okay? It is frequent. It is completely unacceptable. If you actually care about sex trafficking, you probably wouldn't so easily play fast and loose just to win a fucking argument in your mind. Disgusting. If you care about sex workers, if you care about their safety, don't fucking jump and immediately claim that, sex trafficking is happening every single time sex work is happening. Where did the children comment come from? They're making it up. They just literally added it on to make it seem more and more gross. Okay? You do not have a real moral compass. You are just looking for fucking brownie points on the internet. Fucking disgusting. I mean, look at this. 7 hours ago, even though Hasan Piker committed horrible crimes at the Artemis Brothel, we had a great time last night and Ethan watched. Like, these are people who fucking hate Ethan and Hila, and they're even still to this day. I'm being accused of being a swerf for saying Hasan Piker shouldn't have gone to a fucking brothel, lol, Lamau. There you go. How the hell did it even get out that you visited his brothel? I talked about it openly. I talk about sex work all the fucking time. What do you mean? It's always this bullshit. It's because when you talk about sex work in a puritanical ass fucking country like the United States of America, they will, no matter what happens, like they will fucking use anything and everything to just say you're a fucking piece of shit. The irony itself is that like the Vice article very openly talks about the brothel thing. I mean, there are probably a million fucking tweets like this, by the way. This was the article. This was the article that was written. Hasan Parker said he went to a brothel igniting a sex work debate. The original debate started because one of my friends, who is also a Hasanabi head, who is a stripper, I tweeted a video from inside of a strip club where a young man wearing one of my t-shirts was getting a lap dance. Shay, a dancer working at the club, took the video and sent it to Piker. She told me that she had everyone's consent who had appeared in the video to record and share it. The tweet reignited the endless debate about whether sex work is exploitation, with some Piker fans accusing him of taking advantage of what they perceive to be an inherently exploitative type of work, and others who claim that sex work is simply work made more dangerous and exploitative because of stigmatization, marginalization, and criminalization. Remember that. This all started, these people who supposedly care about sex work started playing fast and loose with this subject matter, just immediately claiming that it was all fucking, sex trafficking, was all exploitative. They started shitting on my friend who is the stripper in question. Everyone on the situation gave consent in that regard, except for the fucking random mentally ill weirdos on Twitter. And ever since then, this has just been something that people say all the fucking time. I wonder how many thousands of people have fucking probably heard this and now associate me with like sex trafficking. Because I went to a legal brothel that was rated for tax evasion, okay, not sex trafficking, 10 years after I had gone to that brothel. Well, not 10, but like 8, I think. Yeah, the stripper is the woman who posted an okay buddy, yes. It's so disgusting, dude. So yeah, I talk about this sort of stuff and I talk about sex work. I will always defend it. I will always recognize that there is exploitation there as well. I will recognize that there's sex trafficking there as well. But that's the difference between me and motherfuckers who just don't want sex work to happen. Okay? All of this set off a debate online about whether sex work, stripping, and brothels are inherently exploitative. In 2016, Berlin authorities raided Artemis in a human trafficking investigation. Parker said that this clip is from a few months ago, but his visit to Artemis was around 2010. Some people on Twitter use as a point to argue that all brothel keeping and all sex work is exploitative, a line that sex worker exclusionary radical feminists use to make a condition less safe for marginalized workers, pressuring platforms, payment processors, and lawmakers into pushing them further to the margins. As one of the most popular and polarizing figures on Twitch, Piker regularly trends on Twitter for actions that may or may not be controversial if done by someone else. Piker was criticized after buying a $2.74 million home in West Hollywood and after the Twitch hack, which revealed that he was among the most highly paid streamers on Twitch. The general thrust of the criticism was that he was hypocritical for making a lot of money from capitalism while talking about how capitalism is bad. Articles about the Artemis raid relied on police reports which said that the brothel constituted a brutal and illegal system that severely exploited dependent women. Just because the cops say they've conducted a human trafficking sting, however, doesn't necessarily mean that there was any actual human trafficking happening. During raids, police have stolen from sex workers, brutally abused them, sexually assaulted them, and put them in handcuffs in the name of saving them. News reports about raids almost always rely on the word of a police spokesperson, but cops frequently lie to the media. In the Artemis sting, the 6 people detained were accused of tax fraud and withholding security contributions, Social Security contributions. I don't think sex work, stripping is inherently exploitative, Shay told me. Many of the arguments people have against sex work bring up the same conditions people in other industries experience, she said. Bad customers, long hours, low wages, and strict schedules. I have a strict fucking schedule. Like when I forget to run the top of the hour ad break. and I'm 17 minutes in, and I run the top of the hour ad break 17 fucking minutes in, and then I tell you, if you no longer want to see those fucking ads, all you need to do is subscribe. And I'm in one of the cushiest jobs on the fucking planet. If you give that a 3 out of 10, you are delusional, dude. That was an unimaginably good segue. Fuck you. I mean, that's crazy. At the top of the hour, there's a 3-minute ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe, which you can do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime, or by getting gifted a sub. Okay? If you're lucky, you can get gifted a sub and avoid it that way. Here's the 3-minute ad break now. Thank you, Double Trout, for the 5 get the subs. Bad customers, long hours. It's not for everyone, she said, but for her, it was freeing and often fun. Many sex workers argued that they went into their line of work not out of desperation, but because for some people it can pay well, offers flexible hours, and they enjoy it. All work under capitalism is done under coercive and exploitative conditions, Piker told me. I believe in improving material conditions, helping workers gain autonomy and take more of their surplus labor value back. Consensual sex work in a safe environment can and has achieved that for many sex workers I am friends with. However, anti-sex work takes, especially those that conflate all sex work with sex trafficking, create an unsafe space for those who would like to do sex work. Rawful Apathy, thank you for the 5 gifted. Econ Mang, thank you for the 10 gifted. King Ghidorah, thank you for the 5 gifted. Decriminalization of sex work and ending the vilification of sex workers, I said, could make it easier to find those who are actually harming people in the industry. Of course, there are crappy customers, but that comes with any industry. The difference is if I have problems, I can either leave or my managers and security have my back and the customer's thrown out, Shay said. I go to work, get paid to entertain people, talk with them and have drinks with them, and I go home. People just have this preconceived notion of what a strip club is and what strippers are like, and that it seems like we're either victims or dirty whores undeserving of love. I wish people on both sides would see we're just normal people going to work like everybody else. Piker added that legislation like the Fight Online Sex Trafficking Act, FOSTA, has made it harder for sex workers to avoid the kind of abusive situations that people are talking about now. These are some of the most marginalized people on the planet for creating something many people love and enjoy. I shouldn't speak for them, but as someone who watches porn and is friends with many sex workers, as someone who cares about workers, it would be hypocritical of me not to defend them. Sex work is real work. Now, a year after this article came out, and I guess, 5, 6, almost 7 years after Artemis was raided for tax evasion, they successfully sued the Berlin state and won their lawsuit. And the 100,000 euros will also be donated to UNICEF and the Children's Cancer Foundation because it wasn't about the money, it was just about the prejudice. These people are fucking freaks. People questioning why you keep bringing this up are no better than people who question others why they are doing what they do because of Christian or wholesome values. Who else wouldn't defend their name after it's been soiled? Yeah. It's not necessarily a thing that is just a simple fucking slight that I'm hyper focusing on. This isn't about, people saying that my drip sucks, okay? This is about people literally fucking claiming, this is about people slandering me in the worst ways possible, in the most unimaginably awful ways. And one of the worst possible parts about this is that, it also works to, again, undermine the things that I advocate for. Not only is it gross and disgusting to conflate consensual sex work with sex trafficking, okay? Not only is it disgusting to slander me and say that I have, done some exploitative, shady practices myself personally because I went to a fucking brothel that was sued for tax evasion, okay? But it's a double whammy because it stands against everything I stand for. It muddies the waters. It ruins the conversation. Like these are people who are calling me fucking rapist. Of course I'm going to address this. Like, I'm not a fucking time traveler. Okay? Even if it was busted, and it might get busted in the future for like illicit shit, it's psychotic that people would be like, dude, you went to a brothel in fucking 2009 or 2010, and then 20 years later that brothel was busted for some shit. Like, how am I supposed to fucking know that? Look at this. Or what about how Hassan Piker went to a brothel that got busted for sex trafficking, except it didn't. He went to a legal brothel in Germany, and it was 6 years later, it was raided for tax evasion. Yes, you... And then he just goes, Pinocchio, you're lying face. Like, it just doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean? Because every single time, Vice is a skewed source and a known fact, cope harder. Like... These guys do not care about the truth, okay? But the reason why I mention this, stop saying 0 likes, you fucking idiot. There's so many people that are doing that. So many people have done this on the internet. Come on, dude. Anytime you mention my fucking name on the internet, this is a thing that comes up. It's Red Scare fans and the host doing it, by the way. I know. Those dumb fucking idiots, dude. Holy shit. Pathetic fucking right-wing losers. Art history graduates who think like, oh, you know, this will be a fun little avenue for me to fucking lean into. Churn butter, okay? Be barefoot and pregnant. Don't fucking do a podcast if you want to be a tradcath. Your rant on them in Amsterdam was legendary. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, it was so fucking awful. For a while, it was just like everywhere. Everywhere. Anyway. The one lady who was posting all the fat phobic stuff apparently used to be a simp for a certain someone. Yeah, no, she was. I know. 2017, baby. Well, even in 2022, actually. The they them army lady. Every once in a while a big account will post about it, and people will talk about it for fucking days. But now you know. Okay? Now you know what the fuck actually happened. Now I hope you have a better understanding. It is completely fucking psychotic. It is like the most addressed thing on the fucking planet, okay? So if people fucking give you shit for it, for watching me or whatever, okay? I mean, here, there's another one. Hasan, obsessed with telling people I'm not attractive because he kisses men, wears dresses, and fucks potentially underage prostitutes at a brothel, says this fucking loser. Pro-woman activist making fun of my appearance on stream. It's just like a common occurrence, dude.
This comment to expand on Hasan's brothel visit from the perspective of a sex worker, because I'm really tired of
I've never actually heard this before.
People not in this industry talking about this and using it as something hidden, because victims can't have it.
What? What? Why can't I see this? I want to watch this.
Be using this comment to expand on Hasan's brothel visit from the
Twitter video is so fucking broken. It's crazy.
Of a sex worker, because I'm really tired of
That's
people
crazy.
Not in this industry talking about this and using it as something hidden, because victims can't have voices. Victims can't be represented in legislation. Victims just, they narrative. You're not well intended. But anyway, I know we don't really care about what police do to these communities, but this brothel was actually found to be tax evading. They were tax evading. And good golly, I know a brothel getting
I did refresh the page. I refreshed it twice.
Be using this comment to expand on Hasan's brothel. I'm going to be using this media because it perpetuates the victim narrative and it perpetuates the same stigma that keeps.
I mean, she's probably saying the same things. She's saying the same things I said in the Vice article, I assume. Too many tabs open? No, it's not, dude. You're fucking crazy. Anyway. Yeah, $44 billion in the fucking gutter, dude. You're a terrible person because you went to a brothel that evaded taxes like 8 years after you went there. I know. Why are we giving these nobody's clout? What do you mean? This is a sex worker who is like, I probably has a fucking smart take on this. How is this not straight up defamation of character? My friend, I don't think you understand. Like 90% of online discourse revolves around defamation of character. There's more political intrigue behind the Artemis raid. It was leveraged to use to pass a controversial anti-sex work law. In April 2016, there was a raid on Artemis Berlin. Now it turns out that she was that it was unjustified and the prosecutor lied. However, that's not the whole story. The Artemis raid was never just about Artemis, but about influencing the negotiations between the SPD and the CDU on the last draft bill of the prostitute protection laws in the interest of the CDU. Who should not have followed or forgotten the Prostitute Protection Act is the result of an absurd political process. It started in October 2013 when A. Schwarzer strategically launched the Appeal Against Prostitution immediately after the federal elections. Prostitution should be abolished with the Appeal Against Prostitution. Anyone who does not fully understand today's anti-prostitution discourse will find many discourses and thought patterns in that are widespread today. It's also wild because, like, I found myself at the center of this fucking conversation for no reason, but
using this comment to expand on Hasan's brothel.
The comment is Hasan is participating in visiting brothels, which shows he does not give a fuck about this issue. When I say you, I mean Swerfs, turfs, not necessarily the commenter. Don't send this person any hate, please. Thanks. Sex workers have told people in organizations over and over again, legalization models still leave room for exploitation. This is something I talk about as well, by the way. That's why I talk about decriminalization, for the record. Like, it is true.
Visit from the perspective of a sex worker because I'm really tired of people not in this industry talking about this and using it as some sort of victim narrative. My viewpoints don't represent the whole community, and I never said that they did. People patron sex workers. That is not taking advantage of an exploitative industry. We need people to patron us. Stop constantly framing us as victims. Sex work is dangerous because of the stigma and the criminalization and the marginalization of this work. Hasan visited that brothel in 2010. It was raided in 2016 for supposed human trafficking, and we'll talk about raids. I mean, it's obvious. If you didn't want people patroning brothels that possibly perpetuate exploitation, you would give power to workers. You would push for things like decriminalization models. You'd stop conflating trafficking with consensual sex work so victims could actually come forward and talk about the abuse that they're facing in their industry. Just because the police conducted a raid does not mean trafficking happened. Our own police cannot differentiate between consensual sex work and human trafficking. Just like our politicians can't, and just like most of our community members can't, and just like most of the people in my comment section can't. On top of that, sex workers have told you multiple times what raids do to them, how they're traumatic, and how they harm their communities, and that police lie to media. But again, I know that all of you love when police lie to media because it perpetuates the victim narrative, and it perpetuates.
Yeah, 100%. It's because they're just anti-sex work. And oftentimes, they're not even just anti-sex work. They're just anti-sex. Because, like, you see this attitude from, from Marxist-Leninists quite frequently as well, right? Like, MLs can have a lot of conservative opinions and a lot of conservative values. Like, they might be interested in engaging in, like, emancipatory action, right? They might want to uplift all workers. They want to improve material conditions, but there can still be anti-sex. And that's usually where that comes from. Because exploitation occurs in every fucking facet of capitalism, okay? They're not upset just about the exploitation. Everyone's upset about the exploitation. They're additionally upset about the sexual work on top of the exploitation. That's it. And the irony, of course, is that they obviously can't just be like, fuck these whores, right? A lot of progressive people who are just like anti-sex work can't just say, I hate these prostitutes, I hate these whores, fuck them, they should die, right? They can't say that. So they say, oh, they're victims, they're all victims. They don't even know it. Half the time, they don't know it. Okay? Wasn't there a point about decriminalization but not government regulation because government regulation can hinder the sex workers' power in their own work? Am I remembering something wrong? That is precisely the point. Yes, legalization does often create a lot of opportunities for sex trafficking. Legalization commoditizes sex work to a degree where, like, it's basically the same as having big pharma or McDonald's do the sex work. And we all know how big corporations operate. Now, are there victims in the sex work industry? Of course there are. Is there exploitation that occurs in every facet of existence? Of course. That exploitation occurs in sex work as well. And then there's also the illegal stuff. Okay? Sex trafficking. Or even illegal things like rape, sexual assault, harmful work environments. Of course. But when you conflate all sex work, including consensual sex work, with sex trafficking, you're doing the wrong thing. You're hurting these people more.
Perpetuates the same stigma that keeps us hidden. Because victims can't have voices. Victims can't be represented in legislation. Victims you need to do everything for them. You're not well intended. But anyway, I know we don't really care about what police do to these communities, but this brothel was actually found to be tax evading. They were tax evading. And good golly, I know a brothel getting busted for supposed human trafficking and really they're just tax evading doesn't really fit the victim narrative, but y'all will run with fucking anything. It's okay. I know at the end of the day, you just don't want people with giant platforms collaborating with sex workers, boosting sex workers' voices, or acting like we can have a fucking chip to dip in this bitch. If you want to insist Hasan doesn't care about sex workers, then you got to admit that you don't care about sex workers either. You didn't give a fuck when Fosta Sesta was happening. You didn't give a fuck when they're firing sex workers under 21 in strip clubs, which is disenfranchising them and pushing them into more unsafe forms of work. If you actually cared, you'd realize in the last 20 years that Berlin has legalized sex work. In the last 2 years, they're now pushing for a Nordic model. They want to criminalize it again. Because none of the stigma around the industry or the work has been dismantled. That's right, they want to implant a Nordic model and they want to further criminalize it. You don't care when sex workers are talking about being scared to go home because their passports literally have the word escort in them because they're putting us on registries. None of you listen to sex workers. None of you really care. We are out here using our voices and it doesn't even matter. If you don't want us reaching out to big platforms and big creators like Hasan, maybe you should be doing more for this community. Like, I don't know, listening to sex workers.
Ironic that this actually coherent and very good take about the brothel Artemis situation that was from a year ago, okay, only got 800 fucking likes. Whereas, every time someone chirps about this shit, it pops the fuck off. Because a lot of people are anti-sex work, okay? They want to consume it, but they don't want to fucking think about the humans that are making it, okay? That's it. And it's super easy to fucking vilify the sex workers themselves. It's super easy to undermine them. It's super easy to fucking like cast them aside and just say, oh, you're a victim. Oh, you poor victim. You don't know what's happening to you. Okay? That's it.